A warm welcome to everyone joining us from all over the world. We're here at the beautiful Autodrom Most for the Clio Cup Bohemia Championship. We are ready for yet another incredible round, ready for the start of the second half of the 2025 Clio Cup Bohemia season. We're ready here on the starting grid, and we can already see our main two protagonists of the championship ready to fight from the front row. It's Bartłomiej Mirecki on pole position, just ahead of Tomasz Pekar, the two currently fighting for the title, respectively in second and first position. Coming into this round, they have been absolutely amazing this season, together with Julian Zmiechowski, who is starting a bit further down the grid in fifth position this time around. A grid made up of 19 different cars, with Clio Cups being once again the star of the show here in Most. This is round 4 of the season, and this is the starting grid. We talked about Mirecki and Pekar, the hometown hero and championship leader, and of course the reigning champion. Aleksander Spec is also in third place, just ahead of Oskar Marżarkowski. And here is the rest of the grid. Of course, all eyes will be on the Czech drivers, being in their home race this weekend. 2 races of 25 minutes. We saw a phenomenal set of races in the first 3 rounds between the Red Bull Ring, the Slovakia Ring, and then in Poznan, Poland, for round 3 of the season. We visited, of course, 3 different countries, other than the aforementioned Poland, of course, going to Austria for round 1 and Slovakia for round number 2. And we're here in the Czech Republic for the first of the 2 rounds in this beautiful country, because after the summer break, we'll be back from the 5th to the 7th of September in Brno for what is yet another race in the Czech Republic. This time, of course, in the lovely Brno circuit, which has been resurfaced this season. And then Balaton Park will host the season finale in Hungary, as we are ready to get things underway here for round number 4. Most hosting races number 7 and 8, as Tomasz Pekar is leading the championship with 20 points over Bartłomiej Mirecki, thanks to his 3 race wins so far this season, and especially thanks to Mirecki missing out on points in Slovakia in round number 2. Mirecki also has 3 wins, but crucially, he has won the last 2 races in Poznan. He was phenomenal in that part of the season, after taking the win in the opening race as well at the Red Bull Ring. Mirecki is also set to start on pole position today. He was Pekar's main rival last year as well, when Tomasz clinched the title. This year, Mirecki looks to make it also different, whereas Pekar is trying to repeat his success from 2024. As of course, we will be seeing plenty of battles today in these 25 minutes of racing. We are used to it at this moment in time with the Clio Cup. It is a championship that has entertained us from start to finish in the last couple of years. It's a series using the latest generation of Clio Cup, the 5th version, with of course events taking place all over Europe. For 2025, there's also a brand new team trophy, which has spiced things up, as we now are set to begin the formation lap for round number 4. As the cars are now underway, and we see all drivers moving towards turns number 1 and 2. This gives us a great opportunity to talk about the track a bit. It is one of the best racetracks in Central Eastern Europe, located near Most. A 4.2 kilometer racetrack featuring 21 corners, 12 to the right, 9 to the left, in what is a spectacular event on a track that is also very famous for its work for driver training and car testing. There's many weekends throughout the entire season dedicated to this alone here in Most, other than of course the various race weekends one of the most important ones here in Most right now is the Superbike World Championship, which has come here since 2021 and on a 5-year deal. And then, of course, the FIA European Truck Racing Championship that has graced the surface of the Most Autodrom since 1993, in what is one of the most historic weekends for that series. Of course, Clio Cups being part of the grand scheme of TCR racing. Naturally, we have to remember how crucial it was for TCR to have this track on its calendar, especially for the 2021 World Championship, as the WTCR race of the Czech Republic took place here that year. Then, of course, TCR Eastern Europe has always come here with great pleasure. And then, naturally, having the European Touring Car Cup as well in 2017. So the starting grid, as we talked about before, we'll see Bartolomei Mirecki on pole position, just ahead of Tomasz Pekar. Third place went to Alexander Spets of Sweden, just ahead of Oskar Marszalkowski in fourth. And then it's the other favorite for the championship, Julian Smiechowski in fifth. Sixth place for Reto Wust, ahead of Nico Wust in seventh, with Nikodem Sobczyk in eighth, with Filip Dzivok and Matic Preja rounding out the top 10. Drivers are now getting ready to find their way towards the start-finish line and the starting grid. And of course, this gives us the opportunity to talk about the fight for the championship between Tomasz Pekar and Bartolomei Mirecki, and of course Julian Smiechowski as well, as he is also on the rise this season. Though starting from fifth, he will need to focus very, very hard on today's race to try and finish towards the top and regain those places that he has lost. For all the hard work that he has done, he will definitely have to try and improve it here in race number 1. Meanwhile, we're ready to get things underway here. As even the last car is now placed on the grid, and that is Peter Palotas. But now the green flag has been waved and the 5 red lights are out, and away we go for race number 1 of the Clio Cup Bohemia here in Most. It's a clean getaway for Bartolomei Mirecki, who holds first position in front of Tomasz Pekar, who is now under attack from Alexander Spets in third position, with Marszalkowski and Smiechowski trying to fight for fourth position. Down the inside goes Alexander Spets, managing to overtake Marszalkowski. Sorry, Tomasz Pekar. Meanwhile, there's a spin for car number 21, I think it was, with Mija Primožić and Lemma Racing. And meanwhile, Pekar is now able to move once more into second position ahead of Alexander Spets, who's been demoted to third once more. Meanwhile, Oskar Marszalkowski is still in front of Julian Smiechowski in a fight between the two Yannick Motorsport teammates. And in front of them, there's Bartolomei Mirecki in the lead. A great getaway for the Pole, who took a double race win on home soil in Poznan, while Tomasz Pekar was down to third position momentarily throughout this race. The two were 6/10 quicker than third place Alexander Spets in qualifying. Meanwhile, side by side go Marszalkowski and Smiechowski, as the latter seems to have made a pass over Oskar Marszalkowski. The two Poles fighting hard for fourth position for Yannick Motorsport. Behind them, the two Carpex Service of the West family. Reto just in front of Nico, just like it was in qualifying. And here you can see the end of lap number 1 with a little gap between Zmiechowski and Reto West, and also a little gap between Pekar and Spets, who's now under attack from Julian Zmiechowski. The pole now looking to the outside, trying to make the move stick. That's a very brave move from the pole, who looks to have made it stick, and yes, he has. What an overtake from Julian Zmiechowski right on the outside of Alexander Spets, who's now down into 4th position, and Marszalkowski is also looking to overtake him, though Spets did well to defend in that particular moment. As things stand, he is still under attack, however, and in fact, look at Marszalkowski making the move around the outside, and that was absolutely phenomenal from Marszalkowski, who's now into 4th position after having briefly lost it to his teammate Zmiechowski, who now is into a podium place. Towards the end of the 2nd lap we now go, as Bartłomiej Mirecki already has a huge lead over Tomasz Pekar, who has an even bigger gap over Alexander Spets and Julian Zmiechowski. Spets now down to 5th position, with Zmiechowski and Marszalkowski in 3rd and 4th respectively, and here is Pekar already to the back of Mirecki. Those two have a huge gap over 3rd place, so they are able to fight against one another. Will we see a big fight between the two, as now Mirecki moves to the outside and then to the inside to protect the opening corner of the racetrack and to protect a potential attack from Tomasz Pekar, who has to stay put and slows down and slots into 3rd. It's not easy, of course, to attack with these kind of cars. But naturally here is the fight for what looks to be 5th or 4th position, as we see Oskar Marszalkowski losing some ground and now up the inside of Reto Wurst, with Nico as well involved in a fight that is not, of course, easy to handle. But we see Alexander Spets has moved back into 4th as well, and that is for sure what was happening in that segment of the race. Naturally now we'll be seeing some more fights down in the latter stages of the top 10. Here is exactly that. We saw Matic Preza in car number 97 fighting with Filip Dziwok and Filip Bartosz for what is 9th, 10th and 11th. And here is the top 2, with Tomasz Pekar being so close to the back of his rival. Will we see a move towards turn number 1, or will Pekar wait? No, he's not going to wait. He's going to try around the outside, that both of them almost come together. It was a lockup for Tomasz Pekar, though he was able to keep his car in 2nd position without finishing his race in the gravel trap. Mirecki, however, still in the lead, and this is helping Julian Zmiechowski close back up to them. And this is just showing off how the 3 of them are much quicker than the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Alexander Spets in car number 5 is struggling to keep Reto Wurst behind him. Here you can see the very technical first part of the circuit before corners start elongating towards the second and third sector. Meanwhile, there was a cut off, as you can see it now from this lovely camera. Through to turns 13 and 14 we go. And here under the Orleans Bridge is turn number 15. We can see how close Tomasz Pekar is to Bartolomiej Mirecki. Of course, he will be looking to make the move stick, perhaps even now into turn number 20. Pekar looking to the outside, though that is not going to be possible. And in fact, he has to slot behind Mirecki once more. He's studying his rival now, of course, as he always does, before trying to bring a lethal attack on Mirecki, who now goes to the inside to defend the position once more. This is the same thing that happened last time out. This time though, Pekar has a lot more speed coming towards turn number 1. The two go side by side, but again, it's Bartolomiej Mirecki with the defensive work, able to keep first place and keep Tomasz Pekar behind. It feels like just a matter of time though for the reigning champion to find the right moment to shine and to take the lead and potentially the 4th win of the season. Both of them gunning for their 4th victory of 2025, which would of course be phenomenal for either of them, though of course in the championship Mirecki would need this more, as he sits 20 points behind his rival. A deficit already brought back to 19 thanks to his qualifying performance, which saw him take pole and the 3 additional points that come with it. 2 for Bartolomiej Mirecki for finishing in second. And now Mirecki looks to the outside. The turn 15, there's almost contact between the two, as Pekar has to hang it on by a thread after briefly losing control of his rear end following a gentle tap to the back of Bartolomiej Mirecki. The two almost go side by side into turn 20. Again, Pekar though only doing this to unsettle his rival. Mirecki still in first place. However, it looks like this little bubble is going to pop pretty shortly, as Pekar looks very, very close to the back of Mirecki. Not this time though. There's no moves coming into turn 1. Meanwhile, behind, Smiechowski is still a couple of seconds back. We look at the times from the previous lap. Smiechowski has gained another 4/10 on Pekar, and that is because of the fighting that has been going on, though Mirecki and Pekar have a better pace compared to Smiechowski in clean air. So if they can work together, at least for the next couple of laps, they would be able to build a bit of a gap over Smiechowski, which would be super helpful, especially in the final part of the race, where Bartolomiej Mirecki and Tomasz Pekar would look then to fight and to battle for the win. Meanwhile, here we briefly saw Nico West and Aleksander Spets fighting for 5th position. Nikodem Sobczyk moving up to 7th, with Filip Bartosz taking the last place in the points paying positions. Meanwhile, once again, around the outside tries Tomasz Pekar, but he does not find the space needed to complete the move. Once again, he is so close to the back of Mirecki. This time he doesn't hit his rival, and therefore he's much closer than before. Can he muster up a move around the outside of turn number 20? He's definitely going to try it, though he thinks better of it, perhaps staging a later move as he now looks to the inside. There's almost contact. There is contact between the two of them as Pekar forces Bartolomiej Mirecki's hand as the two now go side by side towards the start-finish line. This is almost a rehearsal for what could potentially be a drag race to the line, which this time was won by Pekar by just 8,000 of a second. Who's going to be the bravest on the braking? It's Tomasz Pekar who takes the lead of race number 1 as Mirecki almost looks to the inside, though he's not able to complete the overtake, and therefore we have a change for the lead as Tomasz Pekar moves into the first place position. Second place for Bartłomiej Mirecki. And meanwhile, we also have a fight for fourth behind them, though it does not look like Mirecki is done and dusted with second position. He's not going to be content with that, and therefore he's definitely going to look for a counter-attack on Tomasz Pekar. Meanwhile, Zmiechowski has been inching ever so closely to the back of the top two. The race is now into the second half of its proceedings, as Tomasz Pekar and Bartłomiej Mirecki still fighting hard for what could potentially be the win of the race. Meanwhile, we see Reto West and Filip Dziwok, the two Carpec service teammates, fighting for 8th position, with Dziwok having the best of him. There's also Filip Bartosz in the other Carpec service car, and of course Matic Preja with the Lema Racing entry. It's 4 people, almost 4 wide, for 3 places in the top 10. Who's going to be the bravest on the braking? It looks to be Filip Dziwok, or is it Reto West as he goes into the inside of turn number 2? He has in fact taken the lead of this little battle. We have seen plenty of overtakes, and now a spin for one of the Carpec cars. Gonna have to wait and see who that is. We couldn't make it out, unfortunately, due to the gravel being kicked up. And here it is, and there was contact between the two of them. It's definitely one of either Filip Dziwok or Filip Bartosz, but unfortunately remains to be seen. We're gonna try and figure that out for you very shortly. Meanwhile, the fight for the lead is still going on, and Bartłomiej Mirecki has moved back into the lead over Tomasz Pekar at the start of this lap, as we have yet another change then for the lead of the race. And here we see Pekar once more trying to fight for P1 at the final corner, which looks to be one of the best places for him to try and make a move. The two of them almost side by side towards the final few meters of the straight towards turn number 1. Nothing changes, however, and we're still with Bartłomiej Mirecki in the lead, having regained it following a very hard-fought battle. Speaking of battles, here is another one, this time between Mija Primožič, who goes to the inside of Osorinski Nerodka. Car number 75 losing another place, down to 15th, whereas Mija Primožič now moves into 14th. This being, of course, a fight outside of the points. It does not give them the chance to battle for a spot in the top 10, though they're inching closer to it, and who knows, maybe some last minute effort from them, or maybe even a last minute crash between some other drivers could potentially propel him or them into a top 10 finish. Meanwhile, the top 3 still made up of Mirecki, Pekar and Zmiechowski in this order. Now once more we see Pekar inching closer to his rival, trying around the outside, maybe looking for the switchback just like he did a couple of laps ago when he took the lead. This time though he's a bit further away compared to what happened before. Therefore there's not going to be an overtake in the final corner like we witnessed a few laps prior to this moment. However, could turn one be a different story as Mirecki protects the inside. Pekar goes right around the outside, locking up the front right once more. But Mirecki is phenomenally well placed with his car, avoiding any sort of second guessing or doubts, as he was perfectly placed to the inside and right to the right hand side of the corner itself, meaning that he could keep the lead even after turn 2. Meanwhile, there's another attack going towards turns 6 and 7, and that was for 6th place, as Nikodem Sobczyk got the better of Alexander Spets in that particular battle. We'll see whether or not that move will be made permanent. As so far we see this lovely shot from the top, which will then drop to the asphalt level, as we can see the fight once again between West and another car. But meanwhile there's, I think, one of the lapped cars getting out of the way, and that is Peter Palotas, car number 28. Meanwhile, once again Pekar very close to the back of Mirecki, and to be honest, there was also Smiechowski in the fight, and now the two go side by side and almost touch. Actually, they do touch, with Mirecki somehow able to keep control of his car, and this enables Smiechowski to move into second position ahead of Tomasz Pekar. This was almost unavoidable at one point, the two of them being way too close for comfort on a straight line, almost gluing together the two cars, the contact. And that enables Smiechowski to move into third. Of course, this is such an important fight for the championship. Being so, Mirecki would gain 10 additional points over Pekar, effectively halving his disadvantage in the standings. Though of course we still have 5 more minutes to go, and this could be crucial for the championship, as we are getting ever so closer to the end of the race. Now Pekar moves to the inside towards turn number 15 over Smiechowski, and this fight could enable Mirecki to gain the time that he needs to flee at the top of the standings, also because Smiechowski does a perfect job at staying in second position. Now Pekar with a better line, almost touching the back of Smiechowski. This is very nail-biting stuff between the different drivers, as Pekar once more looks to the last corner, which seems to be his favorite spot on the entire circuit. However, it's not good enough to move into second just yet. He would have to wait for the start-finish straight. He looks to be very quick in the straight line too, it has to be said, especially compared to Smiechowski, who, yes, he didn't have the best exit, but he was left wondering what more he could have done in this particular position. Well, it's a job well done for Bartek, as Pekar now moves into second position and Julian Smiechowski drops down to third, which of course is not what he wanted, though there was nothing that he could have done to avoid that overtake probably. Meanwhile, the fight goes on for fourth position as well, seeing Oskar Marszalkowski just ahead of Nico West and Aleksander Spets. But this little fight for second has enabled, as we were talking about before, race leader Bartolomei Mirecki to flee at the top of the standings, which is definitely a blessing in disguise for him, as he looks to become now even more dangerous to the championship lead of Tomasz Pekar. Here is the fight for fourth, as Nico West has moved into that place, overtaking Marszalkowski, and that is certainly pivotal in that fight, as now they all go towards the final two corners. Zbigniewski meanwhile still behind Pekar, as we're waiting for them to fight once more towards the start finish line maybe. Though here we are with the other Yannick Motorsport car. This time it's Oskar Marszalkowski behind Nico West, as we start what will effectively be the penultimate lap of the race. Around the outside goes Marszalkowski, but there's no space. Maybe it's because Nico West has completely overshot the corner and is going to be overtaken by not one, not two, but three cars, because other than Marszalkowski, Nikodem Sobczyk and Aleksander Spets also get the place on West, as the Swiss now drops from 4th to 7th in just the space of one corner. It was such a shame, but that's what happens when you try a bit too hard. That is exactly what the drivers are trying to do every single time, going to the absolute limit to try and come out on top. Meanwhile, in front, Pekar has stabilized himself in second position, and that is so important, especially for that fight against Mirecki. And he has to try and do something here, because otherwise Mirecki will be taking the win. Zbigniewski is now in third. Meanwhile here, Nico West has made a place back up. He's now up into 6th, behind what looks like Nikodem Sobczyk and Oskar Marszalkowski in 4th and 5th. So West is actually in 6th right now, as we start the final lap of the race. There's now the fight between Nikodem Sobczyk and Oskar Marszalkowski, but now also between Matic Preza and Nico West, as Preza goes to the inside on West, who is able to defend the position and stay in second. Is Pekar now switching to him as he moves ever so closer to the back of Bartolomei Mirecki. Does he have a last gasp attack on the pole, who started from P1 and looked to be the favorite to win this race right from the beginning, also defending hard from Pekar's attacks? Will it be enough, or is the reigning champion going to steal this victory away from from Mirecki, as Pekar looks to the outside into turn 15? There's no space, however, but I think his best shot will be in the final two corners, just like he's done throughout this entire race. He's been the best in turns 19 and 20. Can he do it again? Can he look to the outside on the final lap over Bartolomei Mirecki? Who's going to come out on top, as Pekar looks to have it under control maybe on the braking zone, though? However, it's Mirecki who comes out on top, as his left-hand side mirror comes loose. He was able to defend and somehow slow down enough to put the car in first place before the checkered flag, and it's Bartolomei Mirecki who takes home a phenomenal victory here in Clio Cup Bohemia. What a race and what a finish between the two who are fighting for the championship. Just 1/10 of a second dividing Mirecki and Pekar on the line. What a finish. what an incredible way to start off this weekend for Clio Cup Bohemia. Race number 1 goes the way of Bartolomiej Mirecki as Tomasz Pekar finishes in second, and Julian Zmiechowski crosses the line in third. What a finish between the top 2 drivers of the season. They have been absolutely smashing it throughout the entire first half of the season, and just showing it once more here with this incredible level as Bartolomiej Mirecki is able to take home victory here. He had to work for it, but he was later given the biggest prize of them all as he takes victory for race number 1 of Clio Cup Bohemia here at Autodrom Most. In the end, Nikodem Sobczyk was able to keep 5th place from Nico West, who finishes 6th. Ahead of them, it's Poland's Oskar Marzolkowski, who finishes in 4th. Matic Preza was able to climb all the way up to 7th, while Alexander Spetz dropped to 8th by the end of the race. 9th place for Retov West, whereas Filip Dzivok rounds out the top 10 in what is, I think, the best way to start off the season, perhaps even the best race of the season so far, with this incredible finish between the two of them. And we saw just how competitive this championship can be as Bartolomiej Mirecki and Tomasz Pekar have their fight sent all the way to the final race of this weekend. And if things go this way, up until the very last race of the season, probably, as Mirecki now has the advantage over Pekar on the total amount of race wins, though Pekar is still in the lead of the championship by 12 points. As the cars now go back to park for main conditions, here are the final standings. Bartolomiej Mirecki takes home the victory ahead of Tomasz Pekar and Julian Zmiechowski, with Oskar Marzolkowski and Nikodem Sobczyk rounding out the top 5. It's 4 Polish drivers in the top 5, though the other one is Pekar, the reigning champion and home hero, who was able to finish in 2nd place in this opening race of the Clio Cup Bohemia for round number 4 of the season. And what better way to round things out for this phenomenal first race of the weekend than the highlights of race number 1. And those are the highlights of race number 1 for Clio Cup here from Autodrom Most. Race number 2 will take place tomorrow on Sunday, as the series will once again hit the track, this time at 14:25 local time on Sunday. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye, and see you guys next time.